Welcome, everyone, to another Games Talk Live podcast. Today, we have a special guest. He's in here to talk about Dragon Age Veilguard, among other games we'll be talking about today, and other things going around the industry. And of course, with me, as always, is my co-host, Hargeet Chani. How you doing, Hargeet?
I'm doing good. Finished Outer Space, finally. It was pretty good, but yeah. A little bit of news this week.
Yeah. We did get some news. We got some breaking news about Nintendo. Anyway, we've got some stuff to talk about there as well. But Colt, what have you been up to? As if I don't know, right? As if I don't know. I know.
Yeah, just playing 3 different games. Last night I finished. I don't know what it is with your program, Fonz, but my camera runs at like 13 frames here.
That's
I don't know
crazy.
why. Remember we tried to fix it last time. I'll try a couple things.
I even changed it for this show. I even put it in 30 frames, hoping it would help you out.
No,
That's
it's not.
crazy.
That's not that. But I'll try a couple things while Hargeet's talking or something. But yeah, I finished Call of Duty Black Ops 6 campaign last night. Super weird. Like the last level I thought was like just way too weird. But the rest of the campaign is amazing. So I love that. And then playing Death Stranding and holding off on Dragon Age for a little bit because kind of had my fill, which we'll get into.
Yeah, we're going to get into that a bit later. Lots to talk about on Dragon Age, guys. Yeah, a lot. Anyways, let's for me anyway, I've been playing a lot of Dragon Age. A lot. About 70 plus hours, I think, at this point. And I've had 2 characters running them simultaneously, not at the same exact time, of course, but I started one character, got to like level 24. Then I said, ooh, that class looks nice. And since you can't change classes in the game, I changed to another class, started a whole new game. And 70 hours has gone by. And we'll get into why, I'm playing that long and everything. But anyways, I played that. And, recently I beat, I think I already said it last week that I beat Black Ops 6. I might have said that last week, but great game. Black Ops 6 was awesome. So if I hadn't said that on the show, I want to make sure I say that because it is a good COD campaign. Colt, I know you've played that too, and you're enjoying that campaign as well. Did you beat it last night? You were almost there. Colt's gone. He seems to have dropped out.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, Colt was playing it last night. He was close to the end, so I figured he might have beaten it last night because he was like on the last level or 2. It's really good though. It's a really good campaign. Other than that, I guess we got to, nothing we're really going to talk about here, but we got a new president. That's crazy. We got a new one, old one, but new again, I guess. We'll see what happens. Let's just hope we have a great economy going forward. That's all I really care about. I want the economy back. I want something to be righted there. And I know everybody does out there. Groceries are too damn high, people. I need those to be brought back down.
The thing that might be of interest, though, is Lena Khan is definitely going to be gone, right?
Yeah. Dude, I saw a tweet with what's her name? That
Master V, Lulu Master V, right? Yeah.
Yes, she tweeted out and she was like bye or something and showed Lena Khan's face and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that was crazy.
Hopefully that means that case will just drop. So let's hope that gets done, right? Because I think that's still pending, the ABK merger case with the FTC, but just from a gaming perspective, that's one thing that's interesting, right? There might be some more potential there for acquisitions, just as an overall thing, right? So
I want to make gaming great again, though. That's what I want. I want to make gaming great, people. We need to do something about these games, especially these Western developers recently. We're getting a whole slew of AAA games that just aren't very good, and I wonder why. Not really. I don't wonder why. I know why. And it sucks because there's so many freaking Oh, I think that's Colt calling in.
Here we go. Hey, there we go.
Colt. Yeah. Yeah. He's like, you know, it never used to do that, this program to your, you know, camera in the past. So
No, Hargeet, are you running your 4K version of your camera?
I believe I am. Well, no, hold on. I use XSplit VCam, and
See,
XSplit VCam takes my.
You're also running at a lower frame rate
Yes,
as well.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
Fawn's is really smooth.
I can definitely tell. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, so it goes through XSplit VCam. XSplit VCam outputs at 1080. So,
yeah.
and I don't know if I do 60. I think it might be 30.
Mine is at 30. My camera.
Yeah, I think it does 1080 30.
Yeah, mine does 4K 60, but yeah, I don't know what changed. But anyway,
it's weird. Now you're at like 5 frames.
Yeah, wonderful.
You're playing. Your camera is the Xbox Series S version of the show.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't. Has that happened with any other like show you've guessed?
Just your stream.
That's weird.
Yeah, I run it at full quality on OBS, and it doesn't do that.
Yeah. Because I went down in bit rate and everything to try to help to see if that would mitigate the issue we had last time. For some reason, it didn't.
Yeah, it's at 30. It's 1080 30.
And you guys have the same camera, right?
Yep, exact same camera.
And I have the same camera, just not the 4K version. So, go figure.
Is it any better? It still seems like it's kind of ghosty. I don't know. I turned off that 30.
Yours is fine. Yours is fine on the feed, from what I can see. It's just Colt's.
Yeah, yours looks smooth on the actual feed. Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah, it's weird. Anyways, people, sorry for that, and I apologize, Colt. Don't want your camera to look weak or anything. That sucks.
Yeah, it's only like $9 million worth of equipment, but hey, we'll be all right.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody said, Texas Lean in the chat said PC problems.
No.
This is on your Mac though, right?
Yes, it's more Mac issues, I guess. No, it's a Mac-based program, so maybe it's just not playing nice with Colt's PC.
Yeah.
That's probably what it is. Let's get into our first topic. Nintendo's in the news. Apparently, they've confirmed that the next Switch will indeed be backward compatible. Hargeet, does this come as a surprise to you?
No, we'd heard rumors, and if you remember, I think we played it here. There was a video of somebody doing a 3D print of the actual Switch 2, right? And it had the micro SD, whatever the slot is for those cards that you have today, right? The physical media that you get. So it had that slot available. So the assumption was, it's going to take those older games as well. From the specs, we do know that it has a higher performance. Well, at least this is what we know from rumors, a higher performance SSD internally. So it does try to compete with the performance level of a Series and PS5, right? So you'll have that capability to install games on high performance internal storage, but it will take those old cartridges. That's a good thing, right? So it's not a surprise. It's just confirmation of what we kind of already knew, and it would have been disastrous to not do that. It would have been disastrous to not do that. You want to bring your fan base forward, and instead of just like totally alienating them. And there's no reason. It's the same form factor. There'd be no reason not to bring in backwards compatibility, especially since both competitors are not doing that, right? So yeah, just like all around good news. That's a good thing. I want to just see the console. Like when are they revealing this damn thing? Come on.
And it just looks the same, it's just bigger, right? I mean, it looks identical.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, it's very close, but there was like a slightly larger frame. I think it had a bigger screen area, right? So
if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know what I'm saying? Like if it ain't broke, but fix the Joy-Cons, please. The stick drift in the Joy-Cons are horrendous. They happen all the time, and that is something that they need to get a handle on. It's bad. It's really bad. My son goes through them like crazy. Like they just always get stick drift. Like you can guarantee stick drift on every Joy-Con. It's crazy.
I mean, you can almost guarantee strict stick drift on a lot of console controllers, depending on how you use them or how much you use them.
You want to hear something?
I know people complain about stick drift, but they drop their controllers, or
you want to hear something crazy about that, Colt? I've never had stick drift on any controller outside of the Nintendo Switch, ever.
Really?
Ever in the history of having
I've watched
almost
videos.
Every console, I don't have it.
I watch repair videos where they use.
I know they do
like isopropyl spray that it's like
Yep.
lint and dust and grease and stuff from your hands gets down in there, and it just holds the stick a little bit, and you can like blast that out of there, and it fixes stick drift on a lot of like the PS5 or Xbox controllers. But depending on how some people are push harder on their controllers too. I always worry about when you push down the stick to sprint and push forward, you're putting a lot of pressure on that, and they're supposed to be made that way. But
sometimes I'm very freaking like crazy with the controllers, man. I'm getting all like, especially with Elden Ring or something, I'm panicking and I'm like pushing the sticks really hard. I've never had a problem with stick drift, and until the Nintendo Switch. Those controllers, yes, I've gotten stick drift, but not on a Sony product, even a Sega product back in the day. I didn't get stick drift. Like, I just never had it. Like, it's always been pretty cool. They get worn. You know what wears out more is the buttons for me. Like, the buttons will get wear down. I've had that happen where they get pushed in too much. Or because dude, you buy controllers. Look at the back of your wall. You've got a ton of controllers. I will wear down the packing controller in the box with the console. That's what I use, and I'll use it forever. That freaking controller behind me, that one right there, the Starfield one, was the first like custom controller thing I've ever bought in my life. I don't buy controllers like that, When I was younger, I used to go real cheap. If I had people come over and I had like little cousins or something come, I would buy those Mad Catz controllers so they can hold on to those or play with those. And but I'm a cheap bastard. I don't like buying expensive controllers. When I see you guys buying them like that, I get so jealous. Well, Colt, most of those are sent to you. So
I've had a couple of them sent to me. Like I don't know which ones are back here.
Got some good ones.
You can't see it, but there's a brown one that was the Age of Empires one, which I don't really like the game at all, but the controller is amazing.
You don't like it? Well, you're not a real gamer. That's what I was told. If I don't like Age of Empires, I'm not a real gamer.
Right.
Yeah, I was told that.
And then they sent me a lime green one, which is back here. It's when they did the custom design labs. I mean, they sell the electric green one, but I changed some things and added more black like sticks in the face buttons because those were all like light green, and I had them like write Ecstasy podcast on that like the first year of my. They've sent me a couple controllers and the Starfield one right here. Nice. Let me just pull a Dreamcast guy.
Yeah. No, you're supposed to have like a worried face, and then we'll just put the headline underneath you: Xbox dead again.
Let that be our first topic. Did Dreamcast guy really sell his base model PS5?
Oh my God.
Retail price after 4 years of owning it. Apparently he told people later on he gave her 2 controllers and a bunch of games and the PS5 Slim, I was told, which is a $400 console in Canadian dollars because she's from Canada is what I heard. But yeah, basically instead of giving that to the love of his moment or love of his life, he sold it to her for $500 with a couple controllers and some games. And he was able to take an extra $200 out of his pocket and get the PS5 Pro.
That's such a weird thing. It's definitely not a topic, but I'll just say that, like I've said on Twitter about it, I said it just seems kind of weird. I don't know if I believe the story necessarily, unless like she insisted on buying it from him. Maybe, I can kind of see that, but I would never want to charge my girlfriend or wife for my old console. Like if she really wanted it, I'd be like, here, take it, a
wife is one thing. Weird. If you're dating Alejandra or whatever her name is for like a month and she's like, I want a PS5 so we can play together. And you're like, just in case this doesn't work out, I wouldn't sell it to that girlfriend if I didn't know how long we were going to be together. I'd just say, hey, you can use mine for a while. I'm going to get the new one. And when you're done with it, I'll take it back. even that kind of doesn't look all that boyfriendy like. But yeah.
Shout out to that blue number in the chat. She says Call of Duty stole her life. Yeah. I assume she's playing the multiplayer. I have not played the multiplayer, Blue, but or Holly, I should say, but I have played the campaign and I really enjoyed it. The campaign was really good. So
yeah. There's also Zombies, which I know they play that quite a bit too. So
Cole,
that can be
what
fun,
about
right?
you?
'Cause it's against the computer.
Have you played or are you planning to get the next Switch, Cole? Is that something you would do?
My kids I have 2 Switches in the house. I don't think so because my kids rarely play on it. For the games that kids, like teenagers and younger, they're not really playing the Switch. They're playing Roblox, Fortnite, Minecraft. That's pretty much that trifecta. So they don't need a Switch. We have them. They used to play Animal Crossing like crazy. No, I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to get it. Sorry, that's a long answer, but I don't think so.
We'll probably have one in the house because I'm sure one of my kids will ask for it or something. So we'll probably get it. Most likely. Hargeet, I know you will. I know you'll pick it up.
Of course, pre-order day one, obviously.
Yeah. Because, some other news came out with Nintendo. They said that they can and will go after people emulating their games on PC, by the way. They will sue them. That's what they're coming out and saying.
It's not illegal, though. I don't know what they're going to do, but...
yeah, exactly.
Well, that's what they're trying to state now, that they can and will. It's their games, and they will sue you if they find you emulating them. I don't know how they'll get around that, but it's Nintendo. Who knows? They're going to try. They'll try.
Well, I guess you have to expect what country, right? Because you have to also understand that they're global, right? In the U.S., it may not work. In other countries, it may.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Let's talk about something other than Nintendo right now, because there's nothing really to go on about with that. PS5 Pro initial reviews are out, guys. It just came out November 7th, and the initial reviews are rather disappointing. Without many games being enhanced.
Wait, it's not a 4090?
Unfortunately,
it's not a 4070?
Unfortunately, no. But here's the thing. Apparently, there's not a ton of games that are enhanced for the Pro right now. And so a lot of people are going to the older games, putting them in there and finding out that, hey, they're running exactly the same as they did on the base model. And I think a lot of people were expecting this thing to suddenly get these games to a locked 60 frames at least, or whatever. It's like, guys,
did you see Rise of the Ronin runs 10 frames lower on quality fidelity mode than the PS5? I mean,
I've seen a couple of things where it was like that. I'm like, what is going on? Yeah, it's probably a bug.
That's
it's
weird.
Gotta be.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't think that's supposed to happen, but
that's not what happened with the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro. They were pretty much universally lauded as, oh my gosh, your games look incredible on a 4K TV. And on the PS5 Pro, I feel like most of the information we're hearing is this thing is not giving you a $700 experience, because 7 years ago, to get your brand new 4K TV giving you sharp, quality looking graphics was a really, really cool concept, and it was really celebrated. In 2024, it's like, we'll use some AI upscaling and you'll be fine. Or lean back 6 inches in your chair, you'll be good. Of course, I'm joking when I say that, but for the price point of $700, I think most of the analysis have said, here's 5 games that PlayStation made that look fantastic on this machine. Here's 50 games that are enhanced, and they're like, that's what I'm getting from it. Aren't you, Hargeet, from the analyses and the reviews?
So, yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, I haven't done a lot of deep diving into what people have been saying. I've just looked at a few Digital Foundry things and a couple of other ones where they're just talking about A/B. Here's what it's looking like. And again, it's just like we saw with the reveal trailer. If you magnify a bit, you're like, okay, that looks a little bit better there. That looks a little bit better there. But that's really it. That's what I'm getting for $700. It's just not that big of an upgrade. It just isn't.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is they have that boost mode thing that they're telling you could take 4 PS4 games and make them look a little bit better. And then I'm seeing tweets like this. I'm going to share my screen here. That's not sharing my screen. Holy crap, that's sharing me 4 times. Holy crap, what was that? Here it is. So Blaze 4K, shout out to Blaze. He's like, Killzone Shadowfall, big difference to me. Look at the shoulder mesh on the straps. And this is really hard to see, but honestly, guys, I don't see much difference at all in these two pictures. And like, you can barely see like a resolution, like maybe just a bit of crispiness around some of the edging, but you have to really look hard on this. And I'm like, why are we doing this? You just spent $700, probably near $800 by with tax and the stand and all that. And it's just like, is this worth it? And I guess if it's worth it to Blaze, if he thinks this is awesome, I mean, go for it, I guess.
If you play all your games on PlayStation, like if you play every multiplayer that comes out on PlayStation, then it's probably
Blaze has a really good PC. So I don't know what the point is.
Here it is. There you can see it.
It's definitely rezzed up, right? And that's essentially what we've been getting with the 1X enhancements and the Series X enhancements, right? It's just been there for backwards compatibility where it upscales for you automatically, right? So all that stuff's kind of just been there. But yeah, that's what it's doing, right? It gives you a resolution bump. Cool.
Yeah, but I mean that, it's like,
okay,
what are we doing? Like that's okay. All right, whatever. If you love that, that's fine. I'm not going to tell people they can't buy what they want to buy or whatever. That's
of course.
Oh, you're not?
Absolutely.
No. I'm not going to tell people what they can buy. If they honestly want to spend $700-800 on a console that gives you a minor resolution bump to old games, go for it. But I will say this: some games that are enhanced do look pretty damn good. Really good. Like Final Fantasy Rebirth is so much better in the performance mode than it was on the base model, PlayStation 5. That game looks like ass butter on the PlayStation 5, all right, in performance mode. But it looks so much better on the Pro. So, and a Little Evil Gaming, I see you. He says, you're not looking at the still picture. You're probably moving too fast to even notice the difference. Yeah. When you're playing the game, you're not going to, well, maybe you will notice a slight resolution bump. Yeah, you'll notice it in game. You'll notice it. But the enhanced versions are where it's at, I think. And a lot of people are like going to these games that aren't enhanced and they're trying to check them out to see if this Pro does enhance them. And some are worse, some are better. And when I say better, it's slightly better. And where people are championing frame rates getting better, it's like maybe 5 to 7 frames more. You know what I'm saying? It's a very small difference. It's that little 10% in that CPU bump, I think, that's helping out. I don't know.
Is there a 10% bump? I think the official, it's supposed to be exactly the same.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, they said they have it. They said there's a 10% bump, and then you lower the GPU by 1.5 or 1.7%. So,
yeah, but we're gonna go in depth more into the PS5 Pro when and I want to have somebody on that actually owns one and talk about this. Probably in the next coming couple of weeks, we'll do this when there's more like enhanced titles to talk about. And we got to see this thing get really put under its, under the microscope, so to speak. And I want to have somebody here to balance everything out, because I don't want it to be just like a hate fest on the Pro, because that's not what I'm trying to do. But at the same time, you mean
have D-Batch here?
Yeah, I'm going to have D-Batch. I'll have D-Batch here because he has been a very vocal proponent of this console. Like he advocates for this thing like it's the second coming. So he's definitely got to talk about it. Hargy, we've had D-Batch on here before. He loves that machine, and he's got one, and he's putting it through its paces. And he told me he'll be honest about it, and I trust him. He's a friend, So he'll come to the show and tell us about it. But I'm also going to have somebody else possibly that knows tech and stuff that might have other things to say about the Pro, and me and Hargeet will sit back and have some fun.
Go at it, right? Yeah, duke it out.
Exactly. But yeah, we're going to have some fun with that. But the PS5 Pro is out there, guys. If you want to spend the money for it, go ahead, go get it. It's available, widely available. It's not going anywhere. It's in the stores. It just seems like this economy right now, not a lot of people are really invested to go out and buy $700 worth of resolution. I don't know.
Well, they also don't have like that killer app, right? I mean, if they had like something to showcase it, to say, hey, by the way, this looks stunning, you want to come out and play this brand new game, like if they had done like maybe Astro or something like that, where it was, this is night and day better here, right? We really tailored it. It takes advantage of everything, right? And you get like that killer app.
Would Astrobot really would have sold consoles? Because it didn't even sell on its own.
No,
Astrobot only sold apparently 1.5 million.
Something, you need something, and unfortunately, they don't have anything, right? So,
yeah, I'm really shocked at that. I'm shocked that they only sold 1.5 million of Astrobot. Honestly, I thought it would sell.
I'm not shocked at that at all. I'm not shocked at that at all.
Yeah.
Like platformers do not sell. They just don't, unless you're Mario, and that's it. Like it's the only one that sells. Right, even like what's that? The new one, Sonic. Is it Sonic Generation? No, it's Sonic X. I don't know what the Sonic Shadow. Yeah, whatever the new one was that just came out. Right, it sold slightly more than that on multiple platforms. Right, it's just they don't sell. They don't. Platformers do not sell unless you're Mario. It does not sell. So like, whatever. I mean, it does not surprise me at all. Everybody was saying, oh, like, hey, look, it hit this much % higher than this like Sonic game. Like, okay, that's nice. And it was number 2 on the PlayStation Store. I'm like, yeah, number 1 on the PlayStation Store was Sea of Thieves, and it sold a total of 1 million. Like, I want the numbers. Tell me the numbers, because if it was selling well, they'd be boasting about it.
Yeah,
they never did. So like, okay, I think $1.5 million is actually pretty good for a platformer. I think that's pretty good. But that's where I expect to go. This is why whenever you say Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo ain't gonna sell. I'm sorry, it's just not. Nobody's gonna buy it. Nobody's gonna buy it. Yeah. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, like, with how good Psychonauts 2 was, I don't think it sold that much.
Yeah,
maybe
it just doesn't.
1 million.
It just doesn't. It does not sell. Like, unfortunately, it's the way it is. Platformers just don't go anywhere. Right? What's Prince of Persia that just came out? It was a fantastic game. Didn't sell. Did not sell. Well, the way it is, just unfortunate.
Something else happened. Speaking of games, though, something else happened this week that was kind of a shock to a lot of people.
Oh my!
Once PlayStation exclusive, Death Stranding, just shadow dropped on Xbox, and now I mean people and at half the cost, I believe. So people were able to pick this up for like what, $20 or something, $18, something like that. And it seems like a lot of people are going out there and buying this game and trying it out on the Xbox platform. And, I'll just say one thing real quick though. Like it's kind of funny how some people that really bashed the hell out of this game 6 years ago when this was on the PlayStation as an exclusive, and they bought it recently on the Xbox on their platform, suddenly it's good. And I just find it kind of weird that some people have come out and done that. But it's there for you. If you really want to try Death Stranding, you want to deliver some packages, try not to fall over as you're walking, pick it up, the drunk walking simulator with packages on your back.
Yeah.
Go ahead. It's there. Build those strands.
I struggle with that one because it's supposed to be a good game. You have to play it for quite a while before it becomes good. And I'm like, that beginning is so boring. I don't know. I don't know if I want to waste the time. And like, it was in Game Pass, so I tried it. I'm like, I don't know, man. I gave it a chance. It's just so hard.
Rand was saying that a lot of people quit after the third act because it just becomes boring after that.
Oh my gosh.
But I don't know.
So I don't know.
No, that's not what he said.
Still...
That's what I asked him. He said that's not what he said. He said that there aren't as many cutscenes and story segments after the third act. Like there's a long segment where you're doing the gameplay loop.
And they drop that because they don't want to do the gameplay loop. They want those cutscenes and stuff. Obviously.
Yeah, Gene Park was telling me this morning that that's when the game really picked up for him. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I am right now. So
yeah, Colt's been playing the heck out of it. I don't personally, for me, I look at I've watched gameplay video on this, and I can't like, I can't fathom why it's fun. Like, I watched a guy talk about it, and he loves the game, and he's like, hey, there's something you can do in the game that kind of breaks the game. It's not something you're supposed to do, because they really had the function to balance yourself with the right and left triggers. If you're falling one way, you hit the other trigger, the opposite side, and stuff like that. But he says, if you just hold them down and walk, you will never fall. So there's your balancing.
That's not true.
It is true.
Yeah, that's not true. I'm already like 5-6 hours into it.
He's 80 hours in, and he showed us. He goes, all you got to do is walk and hold those triggers down, and you will not
holding
fall
those
over.
triggers keeps, if you have a high load balance, it'll keep it from swaying, because they want you to
exactly
correct,
and
it
stops.
But yeah, the game is it's much more than I thought it was, and I've been playing last night and this morning a bunch, and it is really, really, really unique. It's really cool. I'm really liking it. I haven't, ever since I got into Dragon Age, I haven't been excited to jump up in the morning and sit and play.
What do you like most about Death Stranding? What is it about the gameplay that you like?
The whole atmosphere and the whole vibe of the whole game.
The gameplay, not the atmosphere. The gameplay.
Well, the gameplay is you grab your materials, and you have to manage and set out your route, and you have to avoid these mules, which are these enemies with electric sticks that are out to try and steal your stuff. And so I'm trying to avoid them, and then I've gotten in fist fights with them. This morning, this truck full of mules, they look like the CDC or whatever from Monsters Inc. They saw me, and they beeline toward me in a big 4x4, and I was like, oh crap, and I tried to climb up on a hill and get the high ground on them, and they got off the truck, and I came over, and we got this big fist fight, and they dropped gear, and I grabbed their gear as I knocked all 4 of them out, and they're laying there knocked out, and I ran over and got in their truck, threw all the gear in the truck, drove to the next checkpoint, which I'd set on the map, which I had to walk on foot. I drove it in the truck and dropped off everything, and then I used the truck until I was almost out of battery. I found a location that let me charge it up, and then it starts raining, and your gear is starting to deteriorate. So
and you can't let the rain touch your skin either, right?
Yeah, it does it automatically. But when you're in the rain, you're screwed. You're going to have to be very careful, and these ghosts come up. And today I was I don't know, a 2-minute walk away from my delivery location, and I set off the BTs, which are the ghost floating beans. And they started, the ink, the oil started coming up and surrounding me, and they started knocking all the stuff off my back. And a huge, oil squid came out of the ground and started attacking me. And I pull out grenades, and I'm climbing up on trying to get high ground, and they're messing everything up. And this huge explosion, there's a gigantic crater. It's so cool. There's nothing like it. And I understand that people don't love Kojima, and I don't like Kojima's games typically. This one, I've really started to figure it out. He's such a weird dude. But there's a reason why people love this game, and I'm kind of starting to understand it. So, and I know people are Aaron's not gonna lie, Colt, sounds boring. It's so funny, because if you talk about any game, if you sit and I could talk about, Red Dead Redemption is so cool. You get on your horse and you ride around, and you can find these camps, and usually the guys aren't bad, and then you find some bad guys, and they pull their gun on you, and you shoot them. And you go loot their stuff and get all the stuff from them. Then you can take it into town, sell it. People are not going to lie, it sounds boring.
But to me, that sounds way better than you just described Death Stranding. You said you got to walk and avoid people. And then if you find them, or they find you, you got to punch them and then run and collect packages.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I really, really am enjoying it. And the people that I've talked to that have played it, that finished it, that's a totally different story, And I could go and talk to people who didn't finish it and said, "Oh, I gave up after chapter 3," and I mean that opinion won't really work for me. But it's a really cool game. I'm liking it. That's just what it is. And it's
on sale, $20, right? So if you want to pick it up, guys,
it's on sale.
Yeah, like Gentle Stone says, the setting and atmosphere is zen. The storytelling is addictive. There can be something therapeutic about playing the game, but it's always the push and pull of stress and a panic attack when
are you liking this story?
Yeah, it's really cool. It's pretty it's out there. It's super out there. Like America got destroyed by an apocalypse, and this like group that's working with the government thinks that they can make America bring it back together by connecting it. And they have this big dream that things are going to be okay, but the world is doomed as far as I know. Like when it's raining, the time is advancing forward and aging everything, and it's over for humanity. And an extinction event is on the way, and they think they can come back. And then they send Norman Reedus out to fix it. So
Norman Reedus.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's another
what
thing
about
that
you, bro?
Gentle Stone said. There's another aspect that I'm just starting to get into where I come upon things that other people, since it's on Xbox and PC, it's kind of new in that community for Xbox Live players. So I don't see a lot of the roads. Like you were telling me, like there's a whole highway system, because Rand told me when he played on
it's
PS4,
built on on the other consoles. I don't know if it's different, if it like wipes out
on Xbox. So there is no like road system. It's now I'm in seeing what people are dropping off. It's all connected. So people put down a pillar that can start building a road. And so I'm dropping off materials that I like punch off these mule soldiers, and I'll drop them off, and then somebody else can come by. And once that container is full, that part of the road will be built. But it's like the actual genesis of it on Xbox right now.
Yeah, because
but it really says that Kojima's just going to put Death Stranding 2 on Xbox as soon as he can get PlayStation's meat hooks off of him. And all of his games will probably be multi-plat.
Do we think that Death Stranding 2 is locked?
Yeah, I mean PlayStation. It's PlayStation's game. There's no way they didn't pay for it to stay off of Xbox.
Because he bought the IP back.
Yeah, but they probably still signed an exclusivity agreement, I would think. I would go to the grave with PlayStation signed an agreement, even if Kojima owns the rights to the IP. Because Xbox or PlayStation doesn't own the rights to Stellar Blade. Where's that on Xbox?
Yeah, but when you see like when you fire it up on your Xbox, you still see the Sony computer entertainment thing pop up.
It's there, right? They just ported the game over.
Because they helped work on that game or pay for the game to be developed.
Yeah, but I guess the question is, when did they make this arrangement? And my guess is that when PlayStation wanted them to work on the next game with Kojima, Kojima said, my stipulation is that I get my Death Stranding IP back, right? And because of that, now it's open, right? So, and look, this is one of those few people that can actually dictate terms, right? Because it's Kojima, right? So, and it's not like PlayStation's going to walk away, and he could literally say, I don't care, I want to put it everywhere. I'm going to release it on PCs day and date. So do you think this means... maybe even on Xbox and Switch day and date. And
so do you think this means Death Stranding 2 is everywhere, multi-plat, day and date?
I know it's going to eventually be. It's got to be, right? They're definitely going to do it eventually.
Well, if he owns the IP, that's what I'm wondering, because Death Stranding 2 has already been pushed by Sony as being an upcoming game for them.
Marketing at this point, right?
Yeah. So I'm wondering if it's just a marketing deal. It's got to be. If they own the IP, he can put it anywhere he wants, because this is what we've long speculated.
Well, he owns the IP now. He owns the IP now, right? As of this week. So they signed an agreement. I would guess they signed an agreement for Death Stranding 2 years ago.
And I don't know if that IP change. I don't think that IP change happened like this week, because you can't make a port that fast, right? So I assume that happened a while ago, and they're just announcing that whole thing is now this way, right? So, and that's why I was thinking maybe that new game. They announced that new game in January, right? The Fizzant, whatever it was, something like that, whatever the heck it was, right? The new thing that he's going to work on after OD. So I was assuming, hey, that's when they kind of made this agreement, and then it just took them this long to get the port done to Xbox. So.
Yeah, it could be a timed exclusive
you might be right,
for console.
It's probably locked.
It's probably a timed exclusive for the console, but on the PC side, I'll give credit where it's due. Red Wolf out there was the first one to say this early last year. He said that he was thinking that the first game to go day and date on PC for Sony will be Death Stranding 2.
Death Stranding.
And I think
It's
he's
likely.
100% correct. I think that will be the day and date single player game to go to PC for sure.
And then the question becomes:
sure.
is should that also be Switch and Xbox as well? And we don't know, but like it is possible, right? And now that he took the IP back, it could also just be said, I don't care, I'm putting it everywhere, right? Because he just wants to. And by the way, he has this partnership with Apple as well to put things on Mac, right?
And by the way, Cole, Death Stranding, the game, it looks really good on the Xbox Series X, right? That's where you're playing it.
I was so surprised. In fact,
Yeah.
it looks better than the PS5 Pro right now, and PS5 Pro hasn't gotten
It
the
does.
enhanced
Huh?
patch yet. I was playing it performance mode for the first like half an hour, and Red Wolf goes, who's also really loving it. He goes, "No, I'm playing in quality mode." I go, "Yeah, but it's 30, right?" He goes, "No, it's 60." And I'm like, "What?" So I went right to the menu, and you don't have to restart the game. And I was like, "Oh," and it drops down to like 48 during really, really heavy stuff, or drops down like 8 frames during big combat stuff. But
you have VRR, so you won't feel that.
It's not really that bad, but I should be playing it on PC because I got a Steam code from 505 that morning, which is funny, Hargeet. Like, not even an hour or two after the announcement, 505 Games emailed me, and I don't have contact with them. They said, "Hey, we'd like to send you a copy for Steam to talk about the game." And I said, "Absolutely." I've been playing a ton on Steam. And then I loaded it up on Xbox because Gaz bought it that morning. Gaz is also loving the game. I started playing on Xbox. I'm like, it looks this good. It's like, and I was like, let me see how I feel about it again. And I was like, crap, I don't want to do the last 5 hours again over.
Yeah.
And does it do cross save with PC with the
not with
PC Store version?
If I buy the Xbox PC version, which I looked up before the show, it's $20, and my save will be there like 2 hours before I'm at now because I played up to chapter 3. But the Steam version, yeah, absolutely not. I'd have to start over.
Okay, so it does do some cross save capability with the PC version, the PC Microsoft Store.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's pretty cool. That's good to know. And you have the cross entitlement, right? You buy it, you have it on both. So that's pretty cool, but it's not the Steam version.
I don't have cross entitlement on Xbox because Gaz and I game share, and he bought the game, so I'm out of luck there.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about grabbing my old Logitech camera and plugging it in to see what would happen. What would happen if I plugged in 2 cameras at once, Argy? I don't want to plug my
nothing.
camera.
Nothing.
Basically, it should switch.
Well, no, it should
that's
keep your current camera because that's what it's set to in this thing.
Yeah, my Logitech Brio is a 4K 60 camera as well.
Maybe that's what you used the last time you were here. It was your Brio.
Oh, I haven't used it in 3 years. Yeah, I've been using this camera.
Okay. Well, then no, I don't know why this one's doing that. That's so weird because it's not your internet, and you look fine. It's just the frame rate, and I don't know why it's doing that. It's crazy because we're not losing any kind of.
I know. I looked it up at the beginning of the show, and they said lower your settings for your camera, but Hargy is using the exact same camera.
Yeah,
Hargy's the reason why I bought this one. And
my upload is big, and I'm not getting anywhere near that when I'm uploading this stream. Like I only need like 6 megabits or megabytes to upload this stream. It's nothing, and I've got 40, so I don't know why it's doing that. Just to you, it's weird.
Yeah, I'm getting almost 500 down. It's the up that matters. Hold on. Yeah, I'm getting almost my full 20. Yeah, I pay for 20 and I'm getting 20. Yeah, so it's not my internet.
Biff Rinaldi celebrates 23 months here of membership. Thank you very much, Biff. I appreciate that. He says, just patiently waiting for Stalker 2 to come out. Me too. That's going to be my no-life game for a while. I hope it is for me too. I really do. Because I'm playing a no-life game right now, and I don't really like it. And I guess this is a good segue into the next topic. Let's talk about Dragon Age Veilguard.
Talk about what it does.
What it does, what it done do. Here's the thing. I'll just start off by saying I've got 70 hours in this game. Okay. I've got 2 playthroughs started, almost done with 1, and I probably won't finish the other. And that's because I've done every side mission up to where I'm at currently, and I'm getting towards the end. And every time I open up another side mission, I go and do it. Begrudgingly, though, because there are certain characters in the game that I do not care about whatsoever, and I'm still doing their missions. And sometimes I listen to them, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I thank God for that B button, that skip button. But there's other times where I kind of want to hear what people are talking about. I want to hear what the fuss is about. And I listen to this stuff, and I'm like, this is just nonsense. And it is not Dragon Age. There are dark and mature themes within the game that make it resemble Dragon Age, but then there's always a character or some dialogue that pops up immediately after you're like, oh, this is actually getting good, that pulls you out of the immersion, makes you think, what the hell am I doing playing this game? And then I remember, oh, I love the combat. That is the main reason why I'm playing the game. I really like the gameplay. The combat is so good, okay? The graphics themselves are really good. Now, the art style of the characters could be better. I mean, they are cartoony in a lot of ways, but I really do like the environments. I think they're beautiful. But this is not a Dragon Age game. This game is, Colt said it best. Colt said it's as if Volition, the team that made 2022's Saints Row, decided to make a fantasy RPG. That's how it feels. Because even though there's legacy characters from the original Dragon Age games, a lot of the lore and stuff it's still here, but there's certain things they forgot. Like Colt, like I when we were playing this game, Harding, the dwarf, a female in the group, she suddenly gets magic and she's all like surprised. And I'm thinking to myself, wait, but just going back to like Inquisition, she knows of dwarves having magic. Like this, it just feels weird. It feels disjointed. It doesn't feel like they've kept up on all of the story from past games. And then we've got certain characters that are introduced within this game that I freaking loathe. I cannot stand. Like, there is one character in particular. Her name is Tosh. I think she's one of the most horridly written characters ever. And I feel bad for her voice actress to have to play this character and have to read some of these cheesy ass lines. I don't know. Colt, what, because you've played the game too. Hargeet hasn't played it. What's some of the stuff that you like, don't like? What's going on with Dragon Age for you?
What I do, I mean, like you said, I really like the combat. The first thing I don't like is the gosh dang Disney aesthetic. Like the Pixar, it's so Disney. The game is so freaking Disney. It's my character looks like my character is basically supposed to be Rook, supposed to be like the leader of this let's save the world. But instead, my character is the HR representative that was brought in from out of town or from headquarters to help everybody with their problems. Your character isn't a strong stoic leader. Your character's like, how are you okay? Are your feelings hurt? Is everything going to be okay? The way your characters look, the way that Ballara and Harding, I mean, I could complain. You want to do a 4-hour show? Because
look, just complain away, bro.
One of the cool characters is Lucanus, and he's such a stereotypical Italian character. Like,
keep talking. I'll be right back.
Okay, I mean, I think he's supposed to be Italian, but they really made him stereotypical in what ethnicity he is, where it kind of would be a little bit almost offensive. He's like European.
So it's what, colloquial instead of it like just being.
Yeah. Instead of like Mass Effect or Star Trek or even Star Wars, they'll kind of use a cultural type of people in the world, and they'll kind of riff off of that. It's like just straight up on the nose, and then the characters just look so DreamWorks Pixar, and people get mad when we say that. But it's absolutely what it is. And if the Volition said, hey, you guys love Saints Row, we want to make a fantasy RPG. And it's kind of like when Volition made Ages of Mayhem. They're like, we want to make a hero shooter crackdown game where you have all these characters, but it's not Saints Row. Like Gat's not going to be in it and all these other characters. It's going to be its own thing. And that's what Dragon Age Veilguard is. And if you're a 15-year veteran of the Dragon Age series, and Dragon Age games are 80% serious and mature tone, and you get this Disney game, I really feel bad for people that waited a decade to play this game. And I know people are enjoying it. The combat's fantastic. The world's beautiful.
Hold up. Magnum in the chat says the Dragon Age combat is so repetitive, it's worse than the trash story. Combat sucks. You're obviously not playing it or not playing it right. Yeah. The combat is well fleshed out. There's a lot of the skill trees and stuff to pick into.
You have like 5 or 6 main cyclical like attacks you do. You have a couple different defensive attacks. You can use your companions with a quick select or a slow down thing. Like the combat doesn't really get repetitive, and I know that Maddie
it's a lot like Hogwarts in my opinion. It feels a lot like Hogwarts, especially if you're playing the mage. It feels a lot like that.
Texas Lean, what the F? It's far from Crackdown. Bro, were you even listening? I said Ages of Mayhem was trying to emulate Crackdown and Overwatch. Yeah. That's 100% what Ages of Mayhem is. It's 50% Crackdown, 50% Overwatch. Like that's what they set out to do. And I know you're digging the game, Texas Lean.
Trust
we are
me,
too.
Here's
major tonal problems, major maturity problems too.
Let me expand on on what you're saying there with tone, because that is really the selling point of a Dragon Age franchise game. Tone sets the bar there for Dragon Age games, Mass Effect games, those types of RPGs. You always need a good story, because honestly, I was there with you at the very beginning of this game. I was like, you know what? I don't even have to listen to this story. I'm loving the combat so much. I'm loving the gameplay loop that I could just skip everything, play the game, and love the hell out of it. 70 hours later, I'm here to tell you it gets kind of boring, because not the gameplay, mind you, it's the fact that they're the characters that are surrounding you and what you're having to do within the world doesn't seem so enjoyable, because you aren't enjoying the story. You aren't enjoying what they're telling you constantly. Every time you finish like a big mission, you go back and you sit at like a freaking table and talk to everybody. And of course, the Disney-esque characters have to chime up and say Disney-esque things. And you're like, why are we doing this when the world is freaking dying and we're supposed to get out there and take care of that? But no, we want to sit here and talk about your feelings. No, that is not what I want to do. That is the part that is going to wear on you 40 hours in. It wears on you. And that's where Colt's at right now at 40 hours. It's wearing on him. Yeah. But that's the kind of stuff that this game does. And it wears on you. That's all I could say. The first, even 30 hours, I was like, man, this game's so fun. Who cares about all that other stuff? But it does. It wears on you, because you don't like the characters you're around. You don't like what the story is giving you. And then the parts you do like, the missions you do like, you're always going to have to go back and go sit down at that table and talk with a bunch of people that'll start freaking telling you about their freaking feelings. And it's written like a millennial wrote this with a lot of millennial speak for a 14-year-old girl. That's what it feels like. That's exactly what it feels like. So it's hard to just ignore that. It's hard. It's just not well written. It's badly written, Hargeet. And you know what? Honestly, Hargeet, it's got me worried. Colt, it's got me worried about Mass Effect 5.
I tried to come in on Edge browser and it's exactly the same. I'm sorry. I tried everything. It makes me worry for Mass Effect 5. I know the directors come out and said, hey, we're going to have a more serious tone in Mass Effect 5. It's going to look more realistic than this game. But guess what? It's the same freaking writers. Yeah.
What are you telling me that it's just going to change? Like, I don't know. I don't know that they're that good. to write something that's really going to compel me to want to play the game. I don't know. So it's got me worried about Mass Effect. Dragon Age Veilguard also, I'll say this, I don't think it's doing well at all. Despite what a lot of people are trying to push out there and tell you, oh, it's number 2 on Xbox sales compared to Black Ops 6 being number 1. And I'm like, Black Ops 6 has been out for a couple of weeks, and Black Ops 6 is in Game Pass. You can't compare it. I'm telling you right now, Veilguard, I don't even think is going to, I don't think they've made their money back. For what they, because apparently the rumor is that this game was 150 million to produce, but I think that's being very conservative. I think it's more than that. But let's say let's take them at face value here. 150 million, they would have to sell like 2.1 million to just get their money back, and I don't think they've done that. I really don't think they've done that based on what we've seen on the Steam charts and all that. I don't think so. The highest concurrent players was 90,000. That's not amazing. It's okay, but not for a big franchise game like this. This is a huge franchise. Dragon Age is huge. But I don't think it's doing huge numbers. Colt's like really trying to... Oh,
no,
man.
I
Sorry,
don't
Colt.
still hear me?
Yeah, we can.
I'm going to try a couple things while we're going here.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to turn a profit. I think it might be the end of Dragon Age as a franchise. I think it might be the end of Dragon Age as a franchise for another decade. That goes without saying, because they're not going to put out Mass Effect until 2028, and then in the 2035, they're going to put out the next Dragon Age, but I don't think they will. I think they'll just be done, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think EA is going to put up with it. If they don't make enough money, enough profit, I should say, EA is not going to go forward with another game in the franchise. There's no way. There's no way. Hargeet, I mean, what do you got anything to say?
Yeah, I mean, as far as numbers, it would require a lot more than like, so I think you're thinking $70. They don't get $70. Remember, the platform takes 30%. So you kind of lose out on that. But so it would take like 3.5-4 million. Plus, understand it's also an EA Play Pro, right? So those who subscribe, I don't know what the calculations are there, but they get the game, full game available to them at launch. So that's another avenue. I'm not sure what they're getting there from a number of subscribers. But look, as far as the writing, that is disappointing. It's a trend we're seeing. There's a lot of like caricature instead of actual good storytelling, which is sad. It is sad. You're supposed to be immersed in the universe and tell a story in that universe. I had to catch myself, by the way, in like when I was writing the book, that I can't put in things that are colloquial references because it makes no sense in that universe, right? So you have to try to be, somewhat toe the line, because you're going to make some references that might be relevant to today, and it's just, there's no other way around it. And sometimes you just have to be careful to not make references to today, right? And when you're trying to tell a story, and usually people who write these things know that you can't. You got to make things like, you take Cyberpunk, for instance, right? They made a whole universe of stuff that we don't say, right? That's what they created. That's how they made the language work, right? It was colloquial to that universe, right? And that's how you have to be, right? You have to really push that, right? This is a dialogue that somebody's going to have in a universe different from ours, right? And it's not going to be something that would not make sense. If you like put something in from like 30 years ago in a game, and then like, go play that now, and you're like, well, why did they say that?
Yeah.
That sounds so stupid, right?
Dude,
it's like...
There's been so many times I'm like, with some of these characters in the game, because some of them seem to have more millennial speak than others in the game, which is jarring to say the least. But it's real jarring when you're like doing something with one of the companions and they go, "Don't be a dick," and I'm like, "Wait, this is a fantasy RPG we're playing here, and you're saying don't be a dick?"
Be careful with those kind of things. Yeah, and it's like this should be normal writing 101, right? That you have to make things within that universe, and it has to make sense in that universe. But I don't know. And hey, I wonder if part of this is they used AI to write some of this stuff, because AI would make those mistakes, right? So then potentially that is a problem. I don't know. I'm not accusing them of doing that. I'm just saying it is a possibility that something like that might have been utilized, and that's how you might get some dialogue that just doesn't make sense. And like whoever's doing the editing of that should have recognized and said, no.
and there's way, like there's like a lot of stuff in the game that I usually just overlook stuff that, if I don't agree with certain political ideologies or whatever, I can overlook in a game, in a video game, and play it if the game plays good and everything. There's certain ways they push certain things in the game, though, that you don't really have to go to that extent. You don't have to sort of berate the player about your political ideology that you may have, that you may be implemented into that game.
Yeah.
There's ways to do it. There's ways to represent without coming off as, pretentious or smug. And that's what it comes off as in this game. It's weird.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I mean, whenever you try to do those kind of things, it's just going to be weird. It just is. Like, it's, especially in a fantasy setting like that, right? There are just things that they just shouldn't.
Yeah, I had to sit there. There was one, and there was one thing. I sat there through this, like, after this little mission I did. I came back, and then I saw two of my companions arguing with each other. I jumped in the argument, and they were sitting there talking about how one didn't feel like she should wear dresses, and I'm like, then they started asking questions like, "Well, do you not feel like a woman?" And I'm like, what are we doing? The world is ending, and you guys are sitting here talking about this right now. It just, to me, there's other ways of representation and things you can be doing in a game rather than forcing me to hear, long freaking speeches about how you feel. And like, I just don't need it. I don't need it.
Yeah, so it doesn't work in that kind of game. But like, it's the thing that comes to mind is where it actually does work is Deadpool, where breaks the fourth wall all the time, and then you can but that's the assumption of that game, right? Is it like, or that genre, sorry. So like,
weird.
That is just what he does. Deadpool does that, right? So but yeah, like outside of that, you have to understand the universe you're making and write to that universe. That's too bad that isn't happening, but like that kind of cringy dialogue does make it it does break the immersion, right? Which is kind of annoying. And then you take that and say, well, what's that going to be like in Mass Effect? Because I'll play Dragon Age when it comes to Game Pass, because it will eventually come to Game Pass. What will happen with Mass Effect? Is it going to have the same kind of thing? And that's sad if it does, because it's literally one of the top franchises like ever. And if they make that into a mockery, like that would just suck. It would really suck. I like, it's kind of the Star Wars thing that happened, right? Where the original trilogy is like this goated thing, and then even like the prequel trilogy, people were like annoyed, but then the sequel trilogy comes out, and like a lot of people are like, I'm done. Like, I'm just done. Like, what are you doing here, right? And like Colt was saying, they Disneyed it. Like, stop. Just stop doing that, right? Stay within the universe and make it make sense. Unfortunate. So if they do that with Mass Effect, that really sucks. Look, Mass Effect, like Andromeda was a departure. It was okay. It wasn't a bad game. It was okay. But if they make it worse, like this, like that, just kind of sucks. Because the whole thing of that, it's the universe, right? It's not just like, it's not the gameplay that brought you into it. It's the fact that the universe is alive, and it's the dialogue and all the stuff that you're doing. Like, that is what made Mass Effect so awesome. And if that is not there, oh my goodness, that just kind of sucks, right? But
yeah, somebody said that the dialogue and everything was just as cringy in Origins and all these the previous games before it, and that's simply not true. Simply not true. Was there certain things that were in those games that had relatable ideologies and stuff that are in this game? Sure, but they were done so much better in that game. So much better in that game. Again, it comes down to skill of writing. And I think these days it's so hard in these AAA games to really find games that are just have great writing. It's tough, and writing's not easy. I'm sure Hargeet can attest to that, but you have to be mindful of your audience as well. And I think that's the key thing that you were trying to hit home on, Hargeet, is that is the key. You have to hit your audience, and you have to write for them. And the main audience of high fantasy RPGs like this aren't who you're speaking to in this game. That's not what you wrote for in this game at all. It's Magnum. It's kind of like what you said. It felt like they're taking the piss with the writing in this game. Like literally, it feels like that at times. But yeah, I feel for Mass Effect 5 and the BioWare team going forward, because I think if they keep this up, we won't have a BioWare in the future. We just won't. This is not my BioWare right now. Sad to say, this is not what I want out of a BioWare game. So
that's because the people who work there are a lot younger and I'll just say it, less wise than the doctors that ran BioWare and had this pedigree of classic RPGs, because there were classic old rusty and dusty games that were amazing and loved by people that are older than us. And then you get people like the doctors from BioWare, Ray and whatever his name is, who took that and elevated it to peak level. And now what we have is a Xerox copy of a Xerox copy, a derivative set of people who think, oh, we know what made BioWare games great, and we're going to do it our own way.
Mm-hmm.
And it oozes the dialogue, vernacular, and off-the-cuff, laid-back slang that the characters used in a fantasy RPG, saying,
Facts.
"Oh yeah, I'm gonna go over here, and it's gonna be okay." And I know, right? And don't crap on me. I'm crapping on you. Like, that dialogue does not belong in a fantasy RPG.
And that's what we're talking about, because Stephen Southwick was writing, oh no, if you go back to those games, the voice acting side thing. No, it's the tone and it's the writing of those games that are so different.
Dialogue. And yeah, the tone is horrible.
The tone
I really
is
feel
so
like
different.
the writers were afraid that people would be bored. Like, we don't want them to be bored with a boring RPG. So we got to keep it light, got to keep it fun and keep it hip. And I'm like, you're not hip. You're not hip.
No, you're definitely not hip. Yeah.
And if I was going to be making a game, I wouldn't try to make it hip. I wouldn't try to make it cool with fun young slang, because I'm old. I would try to just make it really great. And when I listen to Red Dead 2 characters talk, all of them, every single one of them, I don't hear I'm trying to be hip and keep it exciting and not let the people get bored. It's just really good writing that can stand the test of time and belongs in, 1899 or whenever that game takes place. So BioWare just doesn't have it figured out, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, they don't. I got to move Hargeet back.
Sorry.
No. I wanted to try to move you to see if that helped, but no, I don't know. It's just not playing nice with our computers here aren't playing nice with each other. I don't know why. But no, at the end of the day, it's like this. It's funny because, like, you're at 40 hours, okay, and you've only had the one playthrough, and we looked it up because we were about the same place, in the game with one of our characters, because I've got two different playthroughs. So you're at 40 hours and we're sitting there, we're like, well, we don't have that much more to go, so we could just finish the game. And I looked it up and we were only halfway through with the freaking game at 40 freaking hours.
Yeah.
Halfway through the game and it's 40 hours. That's insane. 40 hours. And that's what I'm getting at. It's like, yeah, Colt and I loved it not being, we could skip dialogue if we didn't want to hear it. We could be like, nah, we could just skip this. The gameplay's too fun. But when you get about 40 hours in and you see that you have nothing else but that gameplay, what are you striving to really accomplish after you've played it 40 freaking hours of that gameplay? Like, you don't have anything else.
There's a couple characters where I'm just mashing B and it's sentence by sentence. B, shut up, Tosh, shut up, Tosh. I don't care, Tosh. You got a chip on your shoulder. No one's here to hear you cry. We're trying to save the world. You can worry about your personal problems on your own time. I'm not your HR rep. B.
Yep, that's pretty much how I am with Tosh too.
Hey, and I loved the game. I loved it. I'll go back to it maybe later, but I need to sit it out a while. It's
because it's that thing. Every game, like when you play a game and you have both the gameplay and the story, it compels you to keep going for 100+ hours. You can play that game for freaking 200 hours if it's got both. But if it's got one or the other, it drains on you after a while. You're like, I either love this story, but after 40 hours, I'm like, the gameplay kind of sucks, or vice versa. That's just the way it is. Like, and that's how it feels with this game. It's just, you have to have parts of both that you like. And it's just not there.
And if you're enjoying the heck out of Dragon Age, yeah, I was too. And I am too when I'm playing it. Like, and I do have my gripes, but if you're here, like, why are they complaining about this game? I love it. I'm glad you do. I'm super glad you do, because I enjoyed a lot of stuff too. I just think there's some decisions that are being made in modern game development where they're like, you know, this agenda needs to be, I hate that, sounds really harsh, but like, I want my voice
to go
heard.
there, Cole. You don't, you could even say it doesn't need to be written like it's being written to a 14-year-old kid with millennial speak. Like, you don't need to do that. You just, I don't know why they chose to go this route, this tone. I don't know why they decided this was cool, but it's not cool. There's nothing cool about the dialogue. It's horrid. Even my teenager would say that's not cool. Like, nobody talks like that. And even with these political ideologies that people want to get really sensitive over and everything, even they will tell you nobody talks. Like, the younger folks will tell you nobody talks like that about this stuff. This is not something like you bring up like this willy-nilly. The world's ending and you're going to sit there and go, I don't feel like wearing a dress. Like, no, that's not how it's brought up. That's not how that's not real life anyway. So
you don't
whatever
say
you're
I'm
trying to
non-binary, but Hargy, you're an expert in everything. That's everything. What?
Yeah, he's
like,
an
what
expert.
year does Dragon Age take place? Like, what century?
I mean, it's a fantasy setting. We don't know what the actual like century or anything.
I mean,
but
it's
if you
like
had to take a
medieval
guess,
times, basically, you know, it's
yeah,
like
it'd probably be
before muskets, and it's like what, the 1400s, 1500s, or whatever,
or maybe even earlier, right? But yeah.
And I'm like, why is someone using the word non-binary? Like, if you really wanted to say that in your game and make that a declaration, and you don't see me like getting on a podium about anti-woke or anything, because I think people take that way out of proportion. Because if you play this game for 60 hours and Tosh annoys the hell out of you for 18 minutes, like, does it really count? But
and there's ways to write that too, Colt. There's ways to write that. There's nuance to it, to where it doesn't sound as cheesy as just saying, "Hey, I'm non-binary." Like, especially in a fantasy RPG, it doesn't sound right.
Don't use the phrase non-binary or the
it just doesn't.
Come up with a different word. Or why did they even have to bring it up in the first place? And Tosh really is insufferable. They are. I mean, I've talked to so many people that are they, them, right? But they don't have a chip on their shoulder and constantly talking about it. Like, they made this character like a whiny, incessant, insufferable, weak link in the chain. Like, we're trying to save the world. You can worry about your dress another time.
Exactly.
Sorry, that sounds super rude. I
no. Don't apologize. It's cringe writing. That's all. You know what? The game itself, like I said, I wouldn't have 70 hours into the game if I wasn't enjoying the actual gameplay. But the story itself is ass pudding. The freaking dialogue is even worse than that. It's
Boba Fett says it well. Why write for less than 1% with such a huge IP? And I said this in my video that when I covered the problems with Dragon Age, like, look at your demographics. If you're making a game for millions and millions of people, you need to look at your customers and say, who are my customers? And this is going to sound so rude. Your ragtag group is like made up of everybody that wants to be represented. Instead of like, If the minimized group makes up 5% of your audience, then make 5 or 25% of your group represent that audience, not all of them. I don't know. I mean, they don't. They really don't. But it just seems like they use that as a forward-facing thing. And my issue with what people get mad about woke, my issue is that they try to include. Let's be generous. They're trying to include the 5 to 10%, and what they end up doing is alienating 5 to 10% of their audience who repel against.
Oh, I think it's higher than that they alienate.
I'm trying to be nice.
Probably, you're probably close to 50% on that alienating.
And
well, it's become that, hasn't it?
Yeah.
The games are failing
again, all
hard
these things
because of
colloquially don't make sense, right? I'm wearing a dress for like. Do you know how many clothes people had back then? That's not common for you to have a whole freaking closet of clothing. That's just not normal, right? Realities of life were so dramatically different back then, right? But they don't know that because they don't want to think about it. They don't want to put anything into it as far as understanding a life of a person in that time frame. This is what they would be doing, right? And that, unfortunately, they just don't care. It's much more about representation. This is the problem. They don't want to do the research. Don't want to do the work. That's why a lot of games, when they write well, you don't realize that shit because they've done the work, right? And that's the way you do it, where it doesn't cause problems, right? They've done the work to say, okay, if I'm living in this world, this is what it's going to be like, right? And this is just the way it should be. Like, and having gone through it, like it is what it is. You think about what does it mean to be that character in that time frame. What do they have as things? It's not my life. It's not the life of today. What does it look like in that universe? And you have to do that. Otherwise, it just doesn't work, right? Because you're putting your stuff into something that doesn't fit in that world. So it's just unfortunate that the stuff that they're talking about.
I think the biggest problem I have with it is, aside from the dialogue, the fact that it is, when we talk about the political ideologies, the fact that it's a fantasy RPG to begin with, and the fact that you can make your character whatever you want to be, doesn't make sense to me to really push anything on anybody, because I, as the player, can do it myself. I could be whatever I want in this game. I could choose to have people in the game call me whatever pronoun I prefer.
That's true in modern games.
Why do you have to go all out and alienate anybody when you're allowing the gamer to do it in the first place? It makes zero sense to me. And this has bothered me for a while, for years now, because we've had this option for many fantasy RPGs. You can create whatever you want. You can be whoever you want. So
Cyberpunk did it. You could look like like you were born a female, and you can look like you are a male, or vice versa.
And I'll go out and say this. I think most people that may even align with these ideologies probably don't even give a shit to begin with if they're gamers. They just want to play the fucking game. They want to play a good story just like you and me. They want to play a freaking game where they can be what they want, for sure. They want that representation, but they've got it right at the start of the game. You don't need to add anything else. That is what baffles my mind. It's a fantasy RPG. You can be what you want in the first place. So go be it. And don't give me shitty ass characters to fucking push some other bullshit, because guess what? I am not that percentage that you're freaking trying to speak to there. I am somebody else. I am trying to play this game as something else. Let me have my fantasy RPG. Okay, but this is what happens when you get all inclusive. You start alienating more people than you do include. It just so happens to be that way. It sucks, but it's a catch-22. It's a double-edged sword, or whatever you want to call it. They need to understand this as game developers, because it's getting bad. It's getting worse, and it's just it's marring our freaking video game dialogue. And within the games, the stories and discourse about the games. It's having a lot of people fight about certain things that really we shouldn't be fighting about at all. But at the end of the day, it's their fault, because they're ruining franchises, and they're ruining games where future generations might not get to play a certain franchise because, hey, the millennials that made that game back in 2024, they really, screwed the pooch on that one. And it just sucks. I don't want to see these legacy freaking franchises just go away like that. But it will. Dragon Age is dead. It's dead. It's dead.
Yeah, I don't think it's coming back. Like I said, if it comes back in 2035, we won't even be around to have that conversation. I'm 97 years old.
Yeah, exactly. If you like the game, though, like it.
Yeah.
Look, anything can happen. You don't know if they reboot something and they get the right writing team, right? Anything can happen. But yeah, if they continue this path, BioWare may not exist.
Oh, and it's not just BioWare. It's a lot of Western developers, unfortunately. They need to take heed to the warning that a lot of people are pushing out there and trying to give them about these games. I mean, hell, just look at your sales. Look at your sales. That should tell you all you need to know. You are preaching to the wrong people. And it's not going to favor sales, unfortunately, for you. And that sucks. Yeah. So anyways, let's go on. Let's move on. Let's talk about Monster Hunter Wilds. This is the last one we'll talk about here. The open beta was this past weekend. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to play it. Hargeet, did you try it? I tried.
Have not. Is it good? Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't get off the Dragon Age to play it.
It plays like Monster Hunter World, and these other Monster Hunter games. But Monster Hunter Wilds, it's a looker. It looks really nice. Unreal Engine 5. Characters look really good. Some people will complain though because there's no boob slider. Some people freaking complain
I saw
about
some
that.
footage that looked really pasty, but when I saw it in person at PAX, it looked amazing.
Good. It looks good.
I don't know if it's just the way it was captured on a lot of people's accounts. So,
did you play it on console, Fonz, or did you play it on PC?
I played it on PC, of course.
Okay.
And it looks really nice. It looks really good. The combat and everything reminds me of World, because I played World. That's the one I played back in the day, a few years ago. Monster Hunter Worlds, yeah. I only played for about an hour, and then I went back to, because I was playing Dragon Age, and I wanted to go back to Dragon Age. But it looks good. It played well. I played to the point where it was like, okay, thanks for playing our demo, and you could still play after that. But yeah, but you could still play after that. But it was just like, thanks for playing.
I heard on PC and console, it's a bit rough in the performance. Did it run pretty great for you?
Oh, it ran great. Ran real good. Like 100 plus frames, max settings. It was nice. I didn't have a problem with it. Of course, I'm sure there's that ever-present traversal freaking stutter that happens with Unreal Engine 5 games. It's in all of them, but I didn't notice. I wasn't looking for it, so I just didn't notice it. It's very actiony. It's so fast-paced, that game. So I don't know. I'm still looking forward to diving deeper into that game when it comes out. I'm probably gonna pick it up, play it on Steam. Are you guys going to get that?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll play it.
I tried the ones that were in Game Pass. I didn't really get into it. So
really, I thought you of all people would like Monster Hunter because you're a big Nintendo guy.
Yeah, this is like a boss fight thing, right? Essentially, where you go after a big, huge animal and kill it. So yeah, whatever. I don't know. I just never got into it. Yeah. I could try it, I guess. I don't know. I gave it a chance and got bored immediately.
I didn't understand Worlds. I played it for 15 hours, and I'm like, I wasn't doing a really, really good job of going out and finding you have to lure out the beast, and then the combat I didn't understand. And then after playing Dragon's Dogma, I'm like, okay, I kind of get what they're trying to do because they're very similar in a lot of ways. So I'm going to give it sometimes you got to give a game a real good shot, like a real good attempt, So that's how I feel about Monster Hunter.
Yeah, Dr. Dry Rub in the chat's really upset. He's like, if it bothers you that much, then don't play the game. Make your own game. Write your own story. Blah blah blah.
Well, Doctor, Dry Rub. Is that Dr. That's a great
Dry
name,
Rub.
by the
Yeah,
way.
Dr. Dry Rub.
Dr. Dry Rub is a fantastic name. I don't know if we can help by the things that we say, because I certainly know that the sales trajectory is going to say a lot and really sting them in the rear area if these games don't do well. But one thing that we kind of avoided saying is that games that are really heavy-handed on the complaints about being woke or having a socio-political agenda, they really get hurt when it comes to sales.
Mhm.
And if you're talking about some of our favorite franchises, and here we're talking about Mass Effect and Dragon Age, if those things hinder the survivability of a franchise, we should be complaining incessantly and speaking with our wallets, and us complaining on a podcast where a few hundred people end up listening to this, or a couple thousand people end up listening to this. It goes some way in helping. And we don't complain to complain. I would never complain just to complain about a game, especially when I really enjoy playing Dragon Age.
And we're not complaining to hate anything either.
Yeah.
When it comes to these social political ideologies. We're not. It's just the fact that, again, you can have representation without having to be so forceful or heavy-handed. It's a better way of putting it, Colt.
Yeah,
Good
it's hard. It is hard to say. And I know that I understand that we, or especially me, come off as a jerk when I talk about it. And it was really difficult when I talked about it for 7 minutes on my video on Friday. It was really super difficult because I have people really close to my family and in my life that have chosen different gender or identity ideologies. And I love and respect them for their choices. But when I feel like a writer's like, everyone needs to hear this, it's like, but not everyone wants to listen.
And it's not even about the social, it's not just about the social political ideologies. It's also just the poor writing in general. It's the millennial speak. It's the freaking modern day bullshit that's in the game that makes no sense. Like, why would you even put "don't be a dick" in a fantasy RPG? Why would you even utter those words in the game? It's dumb. It's written like a freaking middle schooler wrote this game. It's terrible. It's terrible. And that's what
you just laugh, but do you think that we're being hypercritical?
Do you think we're being too much?
I laugh because a lot of this is when you get pushback is from people who are living in the West. If I put this stuff in front of somebody who's in an Asian country, they are not going to like this shit at all. You have no idea how offensive all this stuff is.
Wait. Clarify. When you say Asian country, people think, who cares about China? Clarify that, because you know how people are.
Well, Asia goes all the way from Israel to Japan, right? So if you put this in front of a Yemenese person, you think they like this shit? You think they're going to be very happy about
not
this?
at all.
I mean, how much does the Asian countries make up of demographics for gaming in the mainstream game?
So the vast majority of the human race lives in Asia.
Okay, there you go.
That's just a fact, right? So just India and China is like half the world's population.
Remember how many copies of Wukong China bought? a lot.
Okay,
a lot.
And how much woke stuff was in that? Look, you have to look at realities of why people in those countries don't like Western games. They want the Asian games. Why? They're not doing this kind of shit. Okay, there's just a reality to life, and like you look at things from a very Western lens. All of Africa, they're not like this. Sorry, they're not like this.
Yeah,
all of Asia, they're not like this. So I laugh because the majority of the planet, especially colored people, they don't like this crap. I'm just gonna be blunt. They don't like this crap. You are putting your stupid shit on them, and then telling them, "Take it, bitch." And then you think that that's the actual representation. It is not. It is not representation at all. Ask the rest of the world.
I like this dark Hargeek guy. I like him.
This is why I laugh. People put this stuff up. They're like, "Oh my god, there need to be representation." Represent the real world. Then go talk to the world. Go ask.
Yeah,
they're not going to say yes to this. Sorry.
Yeah, and you even get offended by games that will try to represent even your culture, say, and they have no idea what your culture is like. Like you got pissed off last show about Awakening.
I'm like,
Unknown 9.
God,
yeah,
really?
Yeah, yeah. It was terrible. Like you always talk about representation, but do it in the right way. Hire people that actually freaking can relate to that, are a part of that culture. And that is something that a lot of people don't do. You have a lot of people, unfortunately, in this world, that not even just in gaming and development, but you have a lot of people that like to speak up for other cultures and other people's ideologies that don't even have anything to do with it. And those are the people that are usually in charge of these stories and stuff. And they make no sense because of them. They have no idea what they're talking about. It could be secondhand conversation to them, but no, let me write a story on how you feel being an Indian American, Hargeet. Let me write your story, okay? On how I feel you should feel about being Indian. Yeah.
I mean, that's Hargeet's thing, right? Hargeet said that a bunch of times. Like, I mean, and that contradicts what I said, you know.
And I love what he
Corey
says
Bush
about it.
and Trick Weeks, like, Trick Weeks is he's a male married to a female and he has kids. But Corrine Bush is a queer genderomancer is what she calls herself on her bio. And so she is the creative director and made some decisions. And it's like, so she is representing the people she's representing, which is good, you know. And Hargeet's complained about people who try and represent other races. Maybe the joke is, you know, a white writer trying to represent people's oppression in a different culture or race or religion. Yeah. It's like, you can do your research for sure. And that's what we would hope they were doing with Assassin's Creed Shadows. Like, when you play Ghost of Tsushima, that's not a full Japanese staff that made that, but those people dug in heart and soul into that culture and made that game. Now, did they do that with Assassin's Creed Shadows? Maybe half as much, and that other half is really offensive to the culture of Japanese. So,
especially when you hire a white guy to be the historical freaking accuracy guy for Japan, like,
hey, he could be an expert though. You know, Thomas
Lockley, or he could be a guy who's a shill who wrote his own wiki page under a pseudonym. Yeah,
I don't know. I don't argue about that anymore because the Japanese government already said they're fine with what he said. So.
No, actually,
the Japanese historians already backed up a lot of the stuff and said it's fine. He's enough of a samurai to count. Who cares? But they made other problems. They had other problems. They had a
lot of other problems besides the argument on the samurai.
Yeah, like the stuff. He walks around in a village and there's stuff from Africa in there. It's like they opened up books and said what was in 1400 or whatever year it is, and like what? Yeah, here's a clay pot. It's not even from Japan. So I learned a lot diving into that game. So,
but you know what?
But games shouldn't be about this. Like, games should be about having a great experience.
Exactly.
I've learned a lot of. I've learned a ton about cultures from games. When games cover cultures and get it right, like I'm like, man, I learned more from that than I did in high school from living in that world.
Even that aside, cultures, just a game with a great story, it just feels good. It feels freaking good after you play a game. I mean, even like Red Dead Redemption 2, man, when we played that even a second time, Colt, we were both like, man, what a story. What a great ride.
Get it right.
Yeah.
That'll be GTA 6.
And I'm hoping GTA 6 comes through like that because, again, one of the things, that was swirling around for a while was that Dan Houser, the lead writer that has left the company, that he started, he was the one that wrote GTA 6 before he left. I hope that's true because he's written like all their good games. So I'm hoping that Rockstar comes through. So that blue number says game of the generation. Yeah, Red Dead was the game of my generation last gen. So good.
But you want like a game that did a kind of good job of representing was Tales of Kinzarazao. It was written by a Ghanaian who wrote about Ghanaian culture, right? And so it was just direct. This is how we are. This is our background, and these are our cultural, like, what's the word? But your myths, right? Sort of mythology, right? So that was great, and it was pretty well done, right? You kind of understood like the heart and soul of what it was like to be in that kind of world. So pretty good.
Yeah. All right. Well, I've learned a lot today, especially about how Hargeet can become dark Hargeet and come out of his shell and really stick it to the man. I like it. But anyways, I want to thank everybody for being here. And of course, my guest Colt, even though he's at 5 frames per second, don't know why. So weird, but Colt, tell everybody where they can find you, man, and where they can find you at a better camera frame rate.
Yeah, if you want to see me at full fidelity, you can watch me at Colt Eastwood on YouTube, Twitter, and on any other program besides Fonz's. You can see me at full fidelity.
It's just the frame rate. You look great. It's the frame rate. It's so weird.
Yeah,
so
it's super
freaking
weird. Yeah, I don't know. I'm doing kind of a new thing on my channel. I don't know how long I'll do it, but I'm covering the weekly news on Friday, kind of putting everything together and explaining what's going on in the games industry and
what it is,
cover
some
stuff. What it is and what it isn't. Yeah, and then I'm going to cover. Somebody yelled in the garage. That was weird. I'm going to cover some Xbox hardware stuff pretty soon. So yeah,
nice.
Anyway.
Hardware stuff.
Did
you hear that, guys? Xbox hardware stuff. He just dropped that like it was nothing.
Yeah. Just
All right. Hargeet, let them know where they can find you, where they can get your book, and of course, where they can find Dark Hargeet next.
So if you want to subscribe to my channel, it's Hargeet Johnny 1 on YouTube. And then, if you want to pick up my sci-fi novel, Emergence, it's at shop.johnny.us. It's got merch as well. You can pick that up if you want, signed copies, etc. And then next up is WebDave. We'll be doing that tomorrow at 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time on WebDave's channel. Check that out.
All right. Well, with that said, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and everybody listening after the fact. Until next time, game on, folks. Oh, by the way, before we go, I just want to say that thank you for showing up on the new day and time.
Oh,
because Saturdays, 3 p.m., we'll be here instead of Wednesdays. It was very late for a lot of people. A lot of people told me, hey, I can't make the show, man. I want to see it live. I can't make it. And they're not here today. So I'm going to get on those guys that came at me about it because I'm here now at a time they could show up at, but didn't. They might have forgot. Or maybe they don't.
Mackay 28 in the chat says, Colt, better not be this handheld crap. No, it's not about the handheld, but you know what's funny?
Crap. Why would it be crap?
I don't think people are actually honestly interested in Xbox making a handheld. I think they say that they're not interested.
He's extending the show.
I think some people will buy it just because it has an Xbox logo on it. I honestly think it's going to be like really, really capable, especially with the AI hardware and then software in it. Like it'll be really great piece of kit. And it might be out in a year or just a little over a year from now, but I think it's going to flop. I think people don't really want one, just like they don't really want Conquer and Banjo. I think people do a lot of yapping about what they want, but when I cover the handheld, people don't care. They don't.
I think most people do want. They want a traditional console. That's what they want. They really do.
They do, and they'll get that. But when it comes to handheld, people get all giddy and act like they're excited, but I really don't see that.
Did you just say giddy while pinching your nipples? What did you do right there?
Woo! I went like that. I don't know because it probably lagged.
It looked like you pinched your nipples. Okay. All right.
I've looked at other channels, like when I was like thinking about making some content on the handheld, and I was looking for stuff on other channels, and like the viewership, like people aren't showing up. They don't care. It's really super weird. What do you think about that, Hargy? You think I'm crazy?
It's an interesting point because even if you look at like the Steam Deck, it's not like it sold 40 million copies, right? That thing's like five, something like that. It's not that high, which is fine for that device. That's fine, right? ROG, I don't think the numbers are that high either. So
no,
yes and no. What that's really worked all the time, it's been Nintendo's, right? Those portables that they put out have all sold really well, pretty much. A couple didn't, but
sold really well. Basically the only way to play. Like DS did amazing. Was the DS paired with it was paired with a conventional console back then?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, up to the Switch. Before the Switch, they had a normal console plus the portables, and the portables had their own game library. But those sold really, really well. And the Switch has sort of taken over and combined both of them, and that obviously has sold really, really well. I don't know how well it works out. It could be great. It just depends on what you can play on there and what it looks like, right? If it's another Windows-based device, it might get lost in the shuffle. If it is an Xbox, say it's a Series S in your hands, it could have value because you could play pretty much your Xbox library then, right? Depending on what the online capability issues are, right? Because that is a problem. And then you have to deal with things like Colt, how you're doing game sharing. You would have to say that device, your portable, is your primary to keep the license locked when you're not connected to the network.
That's right. Your home console.
So these whole little issues that come up is what they need to, like teething problems. They need to figure that out, right? So it's not as straightforward. Nintendo does the same thing, by the way. You download or put a game on that console, it is locked to that console. You have to uninstall to take it away from that console to put it in another one, right? So these are just things you have to work through, the teething problems of that, which becomes easier when you're on Windows because all that kind of just goes away. It's just log into Steam or log into Epic Store or whatever. You just play your game, right? So it's a little different. Anyway, so we'll have to see how all that pans out. You're probably right. It's not going to be that big if the customer base really wants to use like a phone or something for any portable thing, right? So we will see where it goes. It could be something, but everybody screams about this, just like Banjo. Everybody screams about it. I don't think it's going to be that big.
They don't show up and pay.
We'll see. Did you, by the way, see the list of sales numbers from the latest financials for PlayStation games? I don't know if you saw that table.
I saw that consoles are down 22%. They're down half as much as Xboxes are down, but what's going on with games?
These are their first party games, and the sales numbers were astonishingly bad. So I don't know if you guys saw that or maybe you can like find it, but something like
wait. Are you trying to insinuate that PlayStation gamers don't buy games?
I mean, it's just unfortunately it's just the truth, and so then when you look at things like so Bloodborne, for instance, sold 1 million. And you're like, that's it? And everybody's clamoring for this game. They have a Bloodborne 2 remaster. It's like, it sold 1 million copies. That's not that big. It's just not.
It only sold 1 million total?
That's from Sony's financials, right? And I'm like sitting there, is this true? Like, this makes no sense. It's literally from Sony's financials. They
haven't remastered if that's true or done anything.
And I'm like, wow, really? And you look at some of the other numbers and you're like, they're bad. They're not that high. And I'm like, this just seems bad.
Why is Bloodborne listed on their current financials?
At all, right?
Why is it listed
I don't know. They just had like
all like old games?
30 different games, something like that. They have, up to even including new ones. And that's how you got the 1.5 million for Astro.
Oh, wow.
That was one of the ones that was listed. But it had like God of War, Ragnarok, and Spider-Man 2, and all these numbers. I'm like, this doesn't look that. So, I don't know.
Spider-Man and God of War did really good, though, right? Like
Spider-Man 2 is up to that. It only had to February 2024. It had sold 10 million copies.
That's a lot.
And I would have expected that doesn't even break even. That's the problem with that, right? Because of the cost with all the licensing, it is expensive, and that's the problem with that, right? So I don't know if it's gotten more since then. I would expect it's a table from like right now, like maybe a week ago, that it would have had higher numbers from more recent.
Somebody in the chat, the Great Be Rich says Bloodborne has sold 7.46 millions. This is as of March 24. That
would make much more sense to me. So I'm looking at this table and I'm like, why?
Maybe those are recent sales. I don't know. Maybe that's recent sales.
I don't understand. No, it's as of like very. It's
because that
very
didn't sound right to me because Bloodborne is beloved. Bloodborne was bought by a lot of people.
Yeah, that makes much more sense. I'm like, why is this even here? It's just so odd, and like the numbers look terrible. I'm like, so what's going on? They didn't even list like the additional sales of Returnal. They had it at 560,000. I'm like, I know that got more than that. And so I looked it up and it was at 1.1 million. And I'm like, so why are they showing? So I don't know what's going on. Why in the Sony financials, they put this table out there with like older sales
there's no
data.
way in that quarter or the fiscal year.
Yeah,
that
it's like, why is this
here? No,
that's weird.
Maybe they misprinted what game they're talking about. Maybe it wasn't Bloodborne.
No, it was literally Bloodborne. That's literally the game. It was a table with Bloodborne in it. And I'm like, oh, okay.
That's so weird. Because 7 million is
I fact checked it right there. I'm like, no way that Returnal hasn't gone over 560K.
No
and
way.
Yeah, it's gone to 1.1 million. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Why are they publishing this? I don't get it.
That's weird.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that said, we're going to get out of here now for sure. We're going to get out of here. Until next time, guys. Game on.